let's really deep dive into how can you support your partner when they go through this. Now, I always like to start with the sort of high level question of like, when we say support your partner, what does being a partner mean? Let's just define that.
Yeah,
What
absolutely.
characterizes a supportive partner?
You said one earlier, which is being available, and that's both emotionally and physically. Being willing to listen and also to offer a random hug here and there, or, hey, looks like you have pent up energy. Let's go for a walk. Being there, being available to them. So when they do decide they want to talk, they know they can because you are there.
There in this context means, to your point, physically, it means emotionally, it means getting off your devices and actually being
Mhm.
present in the conversations. If a partner's coming to you and is trying to talk to you about something, and it could be that daily load, or it could be something that's a more acute issue, get off your phone and actually listen. I mean, it sounds silly. 10 years ago, I don't think we'd have to give that advice, but now it's like, hey, put your device down, listen to your partner. I think one of the other bits is mental health importance is not owned by either partner.
Mm,
Both partners have
yeah,
issues that they're going to deal with. And I think we as a society have sort of gotten better at realizing that mental health is something that everybody deals with. And we'll talk a little bit about some strategies and trends and thought processes around that. But just know that it's equally important for both partners.
no, because if you think about it, everybody has mental health needs in some way, whether that's just, wow, I have this big work trip coming up and I'm so nervous, or I have this big work trip coming up. Can you go over my packing list with me before? Everybody has something, and there's just varying degrees of that. So it's not just one, even if one partner is having more, like during this eating thing, you still had your mental health that needed
Sure.
to be taken care of during that too, which is trying to help your spouse who you love and care about, right? Love and care.
I mean, at that time, it was questionable, but
Very funny. But anyway, right? And that has an impact on you.
right.
And both of our mental health during that time, it was just differing degrees and levels.
Yep, exactly. And I think if you're really going to be successful at managing your mental health, you have to treat it like you would other areas of your life, like your physical health, like your
Right?
eating, like your exercising. Mental health has ways to be trained and be improved and all those sort of things. We'll dig into
Absolutely.
that a little bit more, but I think those are all characteristics of what we mean by healthy
Mhm.
mental health. When your partner's going through a struggle
Mhm.
and you know what it's like to go through that struggle, that changes how you can provide help. Let's talk a little bit about how you help when you understand the issues they're going through. What are some of the things that you can do?
To be honest, it's easier.
Much easier.
If you if
Says the
you
guy who's gone through the not understanding part, which we'll go through
right,
in a second.
right, but it is easier. You can show empathy. You can say, "Oh, I get that." And it's genuine, right? If you don't understand, how do you say that? And it's a bit easier to deal with than it is when you don't understand because you can offer up that support and it comes from a place of understanding.
Yeah. And reminder for today's conversation, we're talking about non real clinical diagnosed disease because
Yeah.
that, even if you understand what's going through there, that doesn't necessarily make supporting easier in that case. We're talking less than clinical. So, yeah, this is a
Yes.
little reminder.
Very good. Yeah. And if it's something that you understand, you're more likely to be able to offer constructive suggestions for how they might approach it. If you don't understand, don't
Not going
wing
to be
it.
of much value. Yeah. Also, can probably know what not to suggest.
Mm.
Just relax. That doesn't really help with your
Calm
anxiety,
down.
does it?
Don't oh, just eat
Just
something.
take a deep breath. Just eat something.
Ooh,
I never said that. Let's be clear.
of
I
course
don't
you
think you were
didn't.
giving an example of
No,
your case
not.
there.
Oh my
But
gosh, heck no. You would have
just eat
never.
something.
You would have never. But
Just
the
have a
number of things people, I hear these things where people will say, I don't understand. Just quit being sad. Get out of bed. Really? If you have, major depression, just get out of bed. That's great advice.
yeah, it doesn't quite work. Yeah, craziness. All right, let's pivot to when you don't understand because this opens up a whole other thing, and this is really one that I'll speak to a little bit because you alluded to it earlier with the food. Well, with our daughter's diagnosis, we were both going through it. We were both on a level playing surface.
Mhm.
We both understood about equally as well what we were going through because neither of us had experience in it. So I think there was much more equality in the impact, right? This, when we talk about the eating issues, I couldn't relate at all, which either I could just not be involved and not support, not really an option, or I had to be open to, okay, why, what's going on, and learning about it. That I think that's where, when you don't understand, you have to start with a willingness to, okay, what can I understand?
Yeah, like I would come home from a therapy appointment or I'll say, "Oh, this is what I learned about myself." This and you were willing to listen. You paid attention to that. Honestly, one of the major turning points for me with my issues, I saw a nutritionist that specialized in eating issues, and she just really helped me reframe my thought patterns and about food. No bad food, no. Anyway, I would come home and I would share those things with you, and you were willing to listen,
I remember
even
you
though you
telling me that pizza is not a bad thing, and you'd always viewed pizza
exactly.
as being a bad thing,
Yes. Yes. According to Ellen, pizza is a well balanced meal if you get the right stuff on it and you eat it in moderation.
and you dab the grease off the top.
Well, depending on what you get on it, maybe there isn't any grease on the top.
I've never had pizza that doesn't have grease on the top. No,
Veggie
that's true.
pizza doesn't
Yeah, that's
necessarily
true.
if you
The
go light on the
cheese.
cheese.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So, in addition to being open to learn, you also need to realize you're not going to solve this problem. And if you're someone like me who has much more of a problem solving focus,
Right.
and you're not so much about just emotional validation and confirmation that what you're going through, that was sort of a hard thing to realize that you're going to keep sharing and sharing and sharing, and I'm not going to be offering up the solution to it because
Mhm.
that's not my role, nor was it in my wheelhouse. So just understanding that your job isn't to solve it. Your job is to be there as a support.
Right.
Does that sound about right?
Yeah.
Okay. What else? What other ways can you support when you don't understand?
Ask. It's not a weakness.
Sounds like man, we're giving out great advice. Ask, listen to your partner. No,
No,
these are the
you
basics
know,
of. But these are no. I'm being a smart ass. These are the basics of long lasting love. Is literally you have to ask.
yes. And that's not offensive.
You're not expected to know.
We would, those of us that are struggling with whatever the issue is, we'd rather somebody ask than make shit up. Can I say shit on this?
I think you just did twice.
Not make things up. Ask. If there's something, we might not always know the answer to the question you're asking, but maybe it gets us to think about stuff as well. But having somebody ask you about what's going on, I don't know. It feels good. It lets you know that they care.
Shows you're invested.
Yeah. And that the person's not in it alone. Because that's what a lot of time happens when somebody is dealing with a heavier than normal mental load is they feel they're alone. And sometimes that help is needed, that additional help is needed. And so when somebody asks you a question about it, oh wow, they're interested. They want to help me.
Yeah, and one of the things you mentioned when we were doing our show prep is that the type of question you ask really matters. Asking open-ended questions.
Yes.
Don't ask yes, nos. Just ask questions that get the person to share because the more they are comfortable
Mhm.
sharing in a trusted environment, a safe environment, the more insight you're going to get to what's going on. Might help you understand a little bit better.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. Closed questions aren't as, it's too simple for somebody to shut down if it's closed question. If you ask something that is open ended, they have to expand on it and it gets them talking.
Right, exactly. All right. Our puppy dog is interrupting our set here real quick, but we'll just kind of give her a little pat and we'll keep moving. You'll go lay down someplace. All right. I would say the last thing that I would probably say when you don't understand is you have to come from a place of being willing to have uncomfortable conversations. Not understanding isn't a weakness. You just don't relate. So you have to kind of embrace the discomfort of those.
Correct.
And you have to be willing to fail in your communications, right? Because that's going to happen and you can't go, well, I tried.
Yeah.
You got to do it multiple times and don't be afraid to come back and go, no, I don't get this.
Yeah.
So I think I cycled back multiple times of
Mhm.
like, honey, I just don't, I,
Yeah. And that's okay. Once again, would prefer honesty like that over pretending that you understand and getting it wrong.
good. All right, let's close this with 3 takeaways about how you support your partner. Takeaway 1, normalize discussion and actions around mental health in your relationship. Don't ignore it. Make it part of your daily. It is every bit as important as, did you exercise today? Did you go to your your physical doctor's appointment? Did you do your stretching? Did you do all those things? It's all super important. You don't have to understand to be supportive, but you have to be willing. You have to be present. You have to show up. You have to care. And then the last one is, misunderstandings, mistakes, and discomfort are all natural parts
Mhm.
of the process.
Definitely.